Are you feeling overwhelmed about caring for a loved one who's gonna come home from the hospital soon? Or maybe you're an occupational therapist and wondering how you can better support your clients and the family caregivers as you discharge? If so, I've got information for both of you in this video, because today we're unpacking everything you need to know to make this transition smooth and successful. Hey, I'm Dr. Brandy Archie, occupational therapist and founder at AskSAMIE, where we have answers for caregiving. Today we're diving into a topic that affects millions every year, and that's discharge planning. So whether you're a family caregiver or an OT, this video will give you practical steps on how to make it easier and safer to get somebody home. So first, we're going to talk to the family caregivers. And the number one thing is understanding the plan of care thoroughly. When your loved one is discharged, it's completely essential to fully understand their care plan. This includes medications, their follow-up appointments, any signs or symptoms to be looking out for, their therapy needs, and maybe even new dietary needs. The key thing is, don't hesitate to ask the healthcare professionals for help. It's their job to help relay that information to you, even if you need it a few times over, because it's a lot. So here's a tip. Use the voice memo app on your phone so that you can record that discharge planning conversation with the nurse or with the case manager. That way, when you're shaking your head yes as they're talking because it all makes sense, you then have something to go back to when you're at home later and you're like, wait, what did she say about that? And now you have that tool sitting right there on your phone. Okay, let's also talk about the safety of our homes and home safety modification. The home environment can pose a bunch of risks, especially after having a change in status or being in the hospital. Simple changes can prevent falls and promote independence, and you also don't have to figure that out alone. The pro tip here is to ask the OT. So if your person is connected with an OT, talk to that one directly. And if they're not, then ask SAMIE. That's what we're here for too. Okay, let's dig into medication management. The mismanagement of medications is a leading cause for rehospitalizations in America, and it's often not on purpose. The time frames in which you're supposed to take your meds are really important, but isn't always relayed to you very well. And the dosage might be different than what you're used to from before, and there's all kinds of changes and details. So find ways to be able to stay organized with managing those medications. You can use a pill organizer, and at AskSAMIE, we've got no-tech ones to high-tech ones. You could even do something as simple as reorganize where you keep the pills and how you think about them. We also really love Take, which is a series of color-coded stickers that you can slap onto those pills, so it's very easy to see what needs to be taken when and what's already been taken. So get a pack of those because it's worth a try. You're also not meant to do any of this alone. So you gotta establish your support network. Family, friends, and community services can help you with meals, transportation, and errands, because everything that you would normally do in your life still needs to get done, and you also need to do it for somebody else. So being able to have a strong support network to help you with that is really important. I highly suggest you try lotsofhelpinghands.com. It's essentially meal train, but for caregiving. So it allows your family and friends to be able to sign up for tasks and activities that they might self-direct to do that can take the load off of you. And while you could do this on your own, creating a spreadsheet is not fun, and organizing all of them is not fun. So just use this tool. It's free, and it helps everybody organize and stay up to date on what's going on. It's also really important to monitor physical and emotional changes. So keep an eye on signs of pain and discomfort, changes in skin color or temperature, because these can be signs of a change in their status. These are usually listed out in your discharge folders with specific signs and symptoms for the person's diagnosis that they're discharging with. So pay attention to those. A great tip is to be able to keep a daily log of some of these signs and symptoms, so then when you do go back to a provider, you've got dates and times and details that are sometimes hard to recall when you're sitting in front of them and they're asking you those questions. Being able to track those changes over time can often help make sure that we're catching complications. Okay, now you caregivers are off the hook, and I'm talking to the OT. So here are some ways you can better support families in the discharge planning process. It's important that we include both sides of this equation, because as a provider, I've heard it from both sides. OTs are trying really hard to express what they need to share with family caregivers for discharge, and caregivers are doing their best job to absorb all that. But oftentimes, there's a mismatch in communication. So here's a few tips that I've learned over the years that can really help with getting through to family caregivers as a clinician. First is the discharge documentation and communication. We're often talking about discharges from admission. And while that is really important and necessary for us to do, sometimes family caregivers are not ready to absorb all that. So try your best to give bite-sized chunks of information repetitively, so they're getting the same things over and over the course of your treatment time with their loved one. Then when it's the big day, try to give something tangible to take with them so they have that information and it's not just audible. So whether that's recording videos or having written documentation that you're sending in plain English, give them something that they can refer back to when they're thinking about your recommendations. Let's also talk about the home environment. As OTs, we are the experts in making sure the home environment is safe and accessible, and figuring out how to make that work on the budget restrictions, the environment restrictions, and the person's actual need. So find a way to put eyes on the scene. Whether your facility is able to allow you to do a home safety assessment directly, or you are on FaceTime with the family caregiver while you're with the patient, so you can problem solve through the strategies you might need at home, or if you want to refer them to AskSAMIE so that one of our OTs can do that virtual assessment and provide you with the information to do your work. Either way, get eyes on the scene so you can give them direct solutions to the problems. We also make it really simple and quick to search for and then compile and share all of your recommendations with one link to the family caregivers. That way they're getting it complete with education and instructions, and you don't got to write all that out at the same time. Okay, we have talked about how we can make it a little easier to communicate with family caregivers as clinicians, and while you're doing that, we also want to make sure that we're providing the education and support at the same time. So you're awesome at being able to teach on the right transfer training skills and the daily care skills that needed for home, but it's also great to be able to provide caregivers with some ways they can get their own emotional and physical support. So this is another place where connecting with your local resources is really helpful, and making sure that you're providing information to caregivers that they can watch back or read back later when they're ready to take that in is really important. So in your effort to link families with community resources, definitely categorize the things that you have in your local community, and then use AskSAMIE to get started, because we've also put a bunch of that into one place so it's easy to find and easy to share. At the end of the day, discharge planning is overwhelming for everybody, but with the right tools and support, it can get a little bit better. Whether you're a caregiver preparing to welcome your loved one home, or you're an occupational therapist who's discharging people regularly, these steps that we just talked about can make all of the difference. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with somebody else who you think it would benefit. And don't forget to hit the bell icon so you're always notified about the newest information we've got out on YouTube. And for personalized solutions, you can always visit us at AskSAMIE.com. Thanks for watching, and remember, you're not alone in this journey. See you next time.